The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We begin with your 17 Court Watch now. A young man found guilty of brutally killing his girlfriend with an ice pick will spend decades behind bars. Daniel Gunnarsson was arrested back in 2021 after the body of Catherine Pham was discovered in the garage of his stepfather's home. Prosecutors say he stabbed Pham in the head with an ice axe multiple times because Pham wanted to end their relationship. Back in August, jurors found Gunnarsson guilty of first-degree murder and mutilation of a corpse. Yesterday, the judge sentenced him to 25 years to life in prison. Pham's grandmother gave an emotional statement in court telling Gunnarsson, quote, "I'm sorry California no longer has the electric chair. If anyone deserves it, you do."
A Bakersfield woman was also sentenced for the death of another woman who fell off the hood of a pickup truck. It all happened at a Motel 6 parking lot on Brundage Lane back in 2021. Melissa Coulson and a friend went there looking for a stolen vehicle. While they were going through a pickup, they were confronted by the owner. Prosecutors say at some point Coulson got into the driver's seat and backed up towards Cecilia Gamino, who then jumped onto the hood. She eventually fell off the moving pickup and died from her injuries. Coulson was sentenced to 12 years and 8 months behind bars.
Fire tore through several rooms at a Union Avenue motel. The fire started just before 6 p.m. at the Ram Kabir Hotel south of California Avenue. It appeared at least 5 rooms were damaged by the flames. No word on possible injuries, but our news crews did see crews trying to resuscitate a small dog. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
We have an update this morning. The search for an inmate who escaped North Kern State Prison is over. Prison officials say Tony McDade was apprehended last night. Yesterday, they were looking for him after he walked away from the minimum security facility. He was first reported missing on Wednesday during a routine security check. McDade is serving a 2-year sentence for a burglary conviction.
And now to Kern's fentanyl crisis. It's one that crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. Last night, a crowd in Oildale marched to raise awareness of the struggle with the deadly drug. 17's Jenny Ha has the heartbreaking toll fentanyl has taken on local families.
One hit, one pill, one time, that's all it takes.
This mother lost her son, Justin Jobin, to fentanyl when he was 18. Jobin would have turned 22 on Wednesday.
And I found him in the bathroom on the floor. Me and my then 13-year-old son pulled him out of the bathroom and did CPR on him until the EMTs got there, and there was no saving him. He was just gone.
May says they did seek early help, but rehabilitation was too expensive and there was nothing available locally.
He was not some drug addict that you see on the street. He was a good kid. He was a good person. He was a daddy. He didn't get the opportunity to be a daddy because fentanyl took that away.
Martina Mireles, who lost her partner Elijah Yepes to fentanyl, was also the first to discover him and administer CPR.
I lost my soulmate. Like, we were 2 peas in a pod. We did not want to be apart from each other.
These individuals, just a handful of the countless families who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. They say a gathering like this is much needed.
Raise awareness and have gatherings like we do now, and just have the community get together and let people know that it's killing people and there's a way out.
Heather Mallory lost her mom in 2022 and also a high school friend to a fentanyl overdose.
She had a few slip discs in her back, and the medication they were giving her wasn't working, and so she told me it was fentanyl. That night she went home and she put another patch on and she never woke up.
District 3 Supervisor Jeff Flores says one death from fentanyl is one death too many.
This is something that doesn't respect demographics, doesn't respect income levels. Anyone is at risk here.
In 2022, Kern saw more than 250 deaths from fentanyl. This year, we're on track to match that number. And according to the 2022 Kern Child Death Review Report, there was a 40% increase in the number of children who died from fentanyl. Kern's homeless population, another victim.
We see just a more desperate insanity with fentanyl.
Tanya Holt of Church Without Walls, a nonprofit that assists the unhoused, estimates for every 100 homeless individuals the church serves per week, 90% deal with substance abuse. Jenny Huh, 17 News.
A massive manhunt is still underway in Maine this morning. This all comes more than 36 hours after 18 people were shot and killed in a bowling alley and a nearby restaurant. Meantime, the entire area has been on lockdown. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
An urgent manhunt by flashlight overnight as law enforcement surrounded the last known address of suspected mass murderer Robert Kern. It's just one area of intense focus, and until he's found, tens of thousands remain under shelter-in-place orders.
Please stay at home and be safe.
Multiple victims for an active shooter in the town of Lewiston.
Kern is suspected of killing at least 18 people and injuring 13 more in a Lewiston bowling alley and a nearby restaurant and bar. Survivors describing the terror.
I just booked it down the lane and I slid basically into where the pins are and climbed up in the machine and was on top of the machines for about 10 minutes until the cops got there.
Grief-stricken families can't begin to describe the loss.
The world lost a great girl and I lost a precious daughter.
A family member of the 40-year-old suspect says he struggled recently with acute mental health issues. Kern is a longtime Army reservist, and officials tell NBC News he threatened a military base and was sent by his own commanders to a mental health facility in July.
That the yellow flag law should have been triggered.
Authorities looking into why he still had possession of an assault-style rifle, as the community reels from Maine's worst mass murder in history. The number of homicides in a single night approaching what the state usually sees in a year. Now a lifetime of heartbreak for each victim taken.
As investigators look for a motive in this terrible act, they do have one significant clue, a note found at the suspect's home. Officials saying they're trying to analyze exactly what that note means and how it could guide their investigation. In Lewiston, Maine, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Meantime, back here at home, Houchin Community Blood Bank says it's on standby, ready to aid the victims wounded in the mass shooting in Maine. Houchin is asking for donations to help keep blood supplies ready and available if they are called on by the Blood Emergency Readiness Corps, a group of blood donation centers across the country that prepares for emergencies where mass transfusions may be needed. It's quick and easy to make an appointment or to just stop by your local donation center. If you'd like to make the appointment ahead of time, you can go to hcbb.com.
We turn now to our coverage of Kern's dog crisis. And new numbers out this morning that show the harsh and heartbreaking reality in our local shelters. On any given day, hundreds of dogs, like Leela, sit in shelters and at risk of being euthanized. It's because there's not enough space to take in the daily influx of dogs. Officials with the Bakersfield Animal Care Center say Leela is ready to be adopted, but so far no one has stepped up. However, they do have a rescue group that is willing to take the pup, but they need to figure out how to get her to Oregon. The shelter says they have already euthanized 40 dogs this week. So far, this month, they have had to euthanize 158 dogs. They did save 238 dogs. That's more than half, and more than half of those dogs were transported out of state. But again, these numbers are hard to stomach. If you would like to adopt a dog, you can visit the Bakersfield Animal Care Center on Mount Vernon Avenue. Adoption fees there are waived through the end of the year.
A case that we have covered extensively here at 17 News is now the subject of a new podcast coming out soon. The Bakersfield 3 is a podcast written and hosted by former KGET reporter Olivia Lavoie. She follows the case of three friends who either went missing or were murdered within a 30-day period back in 2018. Since then, the twists and turns in this case have oftentimes felt endless.
What was uncovered was more devastating than anyone could have ever imagined.
It's one of the few times in my career where I've been warned, hey, you don't want to dig too deep on this one.
Murder, conspiracy to commit murder, torture, kidnapping.
They lived in a very great neighborhood. beautiful homes, nice people. That kind of stuff doesn't happen here. Oh, yes, it does.
There's something big about what's going on. There's something crazy about this case.
Just somebody tell me where they are. We will go get them. I will go dig. I will go dig and I will find them.
I gotta find her to hold her one last time, even if it is just her bones.
Several 17 News journalists are featured in the podcast, which you can now follow on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. All 15 episodes of the Bakersfield 3 will be released November 7th. 5:34 now, and the nightmare continues for owners of older model Hyundais and Kias. Hundreds of the vehicles have been stolen this year locally, but there is help available. 17 Cecilia Trevino has more on how to keep your car safe from thieves.
When I walked out, my car wasn't there anymore.
A reality for many residents in Bakersfield who own a Kia or Hyundai car. These two continue to be a target as they can be very easy to steal. Cecilia Alvarez is still in shock after her 2017 Hyundai Elantra was stolen on Monday and found 2 days later completely wrecked.
They went to go get snacks. They threw their snacks in the car, their lollipop, they just left it on the seat. It's just, how can you be so cruel? Genuinely, how can you be so cruel?
3 months from the end of the year, hundreds of Hyundais and Kias have been stolen in Bakersfield.
So far to date, like through September, we've had about 216 reported Kia thefts and 315 Hyundai thefts.
And that doesn't count the thefts outside the city limits or in other cities. Statewide, 4,935 Kias and 6,218 Hyundais were reported stolen last year. Owners are urged to contact their local dealership for a recall. These are the specific models that qualify for the software update.
The recall is supposed to change like the alarm time frame, like the software in the vehicle, from 30 seconds to a minute, and then it requires that the key be present in the ignition to start it, whereas the key part wasn't a requirement before.
Yeah, it's horrible. If anyone has a Hyundai or a Kia, make sure you take the precautions.
Cecilia Trevino, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.